Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's the 1st of November. Can you believe it? And here we are on the Bill Press Show this Friday morning in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill, right in the heart of the action, keeping our eye on what's going on here in Washington and what's going on around the country and around the globe, bringing you up to date and giving you a chance to talk about it all. Remember, you can watch us on Free Speech TV. You can also watch us on TawkrTV. That's our video stream. You go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. And, of course, you can listen to us on your local progressive talk radio station. And you can join the conversation any one of three ways, at least minimum three ways. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Yesterday, big celebration here in Washington. Cory Booker is sworn in as the new junior senator from the state of New Jersey. Pretty clear he's going to be a force in the U.S. Senate. The FAA out with new rules that you can use your laptop or your smartphone or your Kindle, your iPad or whatever from takeoff to touchdown now. You don't have to wait until they tell you it's okay to turn on your electronic device. Isn't that great? You'll be able to play Angry Birds from coast to coast without interruption. Big internet firms, Yahoo, Google, and all the rest, 6 of them have sent a letter to the U.S. Senate saying NSA is out of control, and there has to be some new legislation putting restrictions on NSA. NSA, meanwhile, denies that it ever tried to spy on the Pope. And Edward Snowden, who started it all, has a new job in Russia. All right, stay with us here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Or you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today,
I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
This is the Bill Press Show.
A new book says President Obama considered dumping Joe Biden and replacing him with Hillary in 2012. You know what? He made the right decision. Stay with Joe. Go with Joe. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Hello. You won't believe it, but it's a Friday. Now, this is a really big Friday because this is Friday, November 1. I don't care. Whatever the hell the date Fridays. We just love Fridays, right? Bill Press Show. Hallelujah. Indeed.
Yeah, right.
We know you do. You do. We don't care what the date is, right? It's just as long as it's Friday, it's a Friday. It's a good Friday. Any Friday is a good Friday here. And we celebrate it with you today. Great to see you. I hope you survived Trick or Treat last night, survived Halloween, and got into the spirit of the things. I think we had an all-time crowd at the Press Family House here in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. Actually, at times, I had a long line going down the block to the front door of the Press Family House, and we ran out of candy about 20 minutes after 8 last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good run.
And then we brought the pumpkin in, turned out the lights.
Farewell.
And hunkered down.
Yeah.
But it was so. It's easy to lose count, but with Carol's clicker,
I was going to say I'm dying to know.
It was 130.
Okay. Very nice.
I think plus.
Okay.
Plus. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
All ages, I might add. Yes. Yeah. There were a few senior citizens. Almost. There were definitely some high school kids, and I think one or two college kids slipped in there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What I mean, we were having this debate last night because I was walking around with my kids, and we had some friends and my wife. We saw a bunch of what looked like probably 16, 17-year-old kids, and I was saying that's
were they from your neighborhood?
Old. Yeah. And I was saying that they're too old. That's too old.
Yeah, there should be a time when
I think so.
Kind of cut off. But I'll tell you one thing. I don't care how cute they are. No kid gets any candy from us unless they say trick or treat, and then they say thank you.
That's right, man.
Yeah. They got to learn their manners there.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I absolutely appreciate that.
Man, when I'm at the door, I don't know about Carol, when I'm at the door, there are certain rules. Right?
I really wish I could have seen a kid come up to you and just hold his bag open.
Several of them did, man. They didn't get it. And I'll tell you what was really funny is, so one kid, so Carol's cousin lives in the neighborhood, and he always comes by with his two daughters, and they come in, they visit for a while. So they were there, and they opened the door. They were there, and I said, "Oh my God, great to see you. Come on in." So they walked in, and then back of them was a whole mess of other kids.
Oh, okay.
And the first one in that line, he was there with his mother, and so he just walked right in the house. Oh. And his mother said, no, you don't walk in their house. So
come on in.
I
Get something to drink.
He was just confused because the people ahead of him walked in.
Yeah.
Come on in, sit down, take a nap. Hey, here we go. We got lots to talk about today. And I'll tell you, it is I've told you this a long time. You didn't believe me, but now maybe you'll believe me. It's a dangerous job being in the media these days. You go to the White House, they hate you, they beat you up, and go to Congress, they hate you, they beat you up, and now if you go out in the streets and you go to cover a crime scene, they beat you up. Here's what happened here locally. It's getting a lot of news in D.C. A reporter and a cameraman from Channel 9 WUSA. There was reported disturbance at a house. The cops were called, and they were listening in on the cop radio. So they showed up as well. And the woman owns that house. She was not happy to see this news crew, and she chased them, not only chased them off her property, and then punched both the reporter and the cameraman. Here it is.
I actually leave, and I'm not gonna say it again. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Get out of here.
Bye. Bye. Stop. Bye. I'm telling you, goodbye.
Miss, we're on a podcast.
I don't care. Goodbye. I'ma tase your neck. I'm telling you, bye. I'ma pop out you. I will slap you.
Okay. No.
I will knock this.
Boom, there it is. Punch.
You can't do that, please.
You can't. Don't do that. Don't touch me.
Please
don't touch me.
I got that.
Boom.
I got her.
Boom. There's another one. They're trying to hold her off is all they're trying to do.
I'ma knock the out you. Goodbye.
I got it. We're gone.
Goodbye.
Boom. Slam.
She sounds sweet.
Anyhow, at any rate,
nice.
the reporter is and their cameraman are both fine, and they say they're not going to press charges. It's all all in the line of duty.
I wouldn't either if you got taped that good.
Exactly.
Bye.
All right. So coming up, David Jackson from the White House covers the White House for USA Today. Will be joining us a little bit later in this hour. And in the next hour, we'll be talking to City Councilman Tommy Wells, running for mayor here of Washington, D.C. And then we'll be talking, believe it or not, to the publisher of, or the editor-in-chief of Garden and Gun magazine. I ain't got no garden, I ain't got no gun. But anyhow, Garden and Gun magazine. We'll talk to him. And new rules for frequent flyers. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple of other stories making news. Let's start at the sports desk, where last night the Miami Dolphins took on the Cincinnati Bengals in Miami. It was a bizarre game that went to overtime and ended when the Dolphins' Cameron Wake sacked Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton in his own end zone, giving them 2 points on a safety and ended the game. Here's how it sounded on WINZ out of Miami.
Dolphins secondary looks a bit confused. Here they come. And he's got it into the end zone. It's a sack. Safety. The Dolphins win the football game. It's a safety.
It's a very weird way to end an overtime game, not unlike the Red Sox obstruction call the other day. It's something you don't see every day. Cincinnati drops to 6-3 on the season, while Miami levels out at 4-4.
Whoa. So that was the end of that. Because
that's how it ended. That's 2 points. That breaks overtime. That's over and done with. There you go. Here's one excuse you might not have thought of. A man in Bismarck, North Dakota is in trouble after police responded to a call for assault at his residence. When they arrived, they found drug paraphernalia and $40,000 in cash lying around his house. But don't get it twisted. According to the man, this is not drug money. Nothing bad was going on. His excuse is that $40,000 was money that he had saved from mowing lawns. 40 grand mowing lawns. Police didn't buy the story, and the man has been arrested.
Yeah, let me tell you, I used to cut grass too.
So did I.
Yeah.
I never made 40 gur.
I don't think I made 4,000.
No. And Google Glass strikes again. Is it safe to wear Google Glass and drive? Police in Temecula, California certainly don't think so. When a woman was pulled over for speeding, police noticed that she was wearing Google Glass and wrote her a ticket citing driving with monitor visible to driver. This is an offense that's usually reserved for people who have a smartphone or a computer screen open in their car, but they use it for Google Glass. It's the first time that's ever been seen. And in fact, on her ticket, it actually says driving with Google Glass. The woman posted on social media, got lots of feedback, but it's going to stick. It's that she has been cited.
Here's what gets me about that story is, I know Temecula, California.
Okay.
It is nowhere, right? Seriously, it's out in the desert, and it's just a one stoplight town. how the hell did a woman in Temecula, California get a hold of Google glasses? You can't buy them.
Yeah.
You have to work for Google to have them.
I mean, you have to know somebody who knows somebody at the very least to get a hold of them now. So, yeah. Is this your way of asking for Google Glass? Is that what you want? You want to get a pair and wear some?
Christmas.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, I want you all to chip in.
Okay.
A pair of Google glasses.
You got it.
And if you have to go to Temecula to get them, go to Temecula. Well, for those who fly often or even once in a while, it doesn't have to be frequent flyers. Some big news yesterday that's going to make a big difference. I think it's a welcome change, and it has to do with electronic devices and when you can use them and when you can't. You know, the rules are now, they always say, oh my God, do they berate you about turning off your electronic devices, anything. If it has an on or off switch, it has to be off, and it's got to do it now because we're closing the door. Once you sit on the ground, and once they close the door, doesn't matter how long you sit there at the gate, doesn't matter how long you sit there on the tarmac, you cannot use your electronic device until you get to 10,000 feet, and then they say, okay, now it's okay. And then when they start the descent and they get down to 10,000 feet, they tell you, you got to turn them off. I mean, we've all been through this so many times. I could do the announcement myself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Changes now. Changes as of yesterday. The FAA announcing new rules. Michael Huerta from the FAA.
I am pleased to announce that airlines can safely expand passenger use of portable electronic devices during all phases of flight.
Now, he cautioned that first, planes have to be equipped, and the newest planes are equipped to sort of have a buffer against the signals that these devices send out. So it's going to take a little time before the FAA certifies that the planes that are able to handle this.
These changes won't take effect immediately, but we will be working with the airlines to get it done as quickly as we can and to maximize consistency across the industry.
And finally, Michael Huerta says that even if you're on your Kindle or whatever you're doing, playing Angry Birds, you still have to stop and listen to the safety announcement, which, of course, nobody listens to now and nobody ever will.
There's one thing that won't change. Passengers must take a break from their devices, their reading material, their music, whatever they're doing, and listen to the safety briefing before each flight. It's information that could save your life.
Yes, because you have to know how to buckle your seatbelt, and if you don't know how to buckle your seatbelt, you don't belong on the plane in the first place. But
it's a matter of public safety, I'm sure.
Right. So these are the changes. So what it means is, I think it's good news. It means that for your, you name it, right? Your laptop, your iPad, your e-reader, your Kindle or whatever, even your smartphone, you can use it from the time you get on the plane. You can use it sitting on the tarmac. You can use it while you're taxiing. You can use it during takeoff. You can use it, of course, during the entire flight. You can use it while the plane is descending, and you can use it while it's landing and then taxiing again. The whole time. No limits. You can play Angry Birds from the minute you get on that plane until the minute you get off that plane or whatever. And because they have improved the technology in the planes to be able to protect against the signals that are being sent out by these devices. By the way, I don't know about you. I never believed that BS anyhow.
I didn't either.
They always said the plane will do cartwheels and everything, if you have your cell phone on or something. But I have done, not on purpose, but I have accidentally left my laptop turned on during a flight, and a couple of times my cell phone in my bag or in my briefcase, accidentally, I swear, and the plane did not fly upside down, huh? Did not turn upside down, did not immediately fall from the sky. But this is good news. It means people can be more comfortable. But the best news of all is they said, you can use those devices, but you still cannot use your cell phone to play games, fine, as long as it's in airplane mode. You can't use your cell phone to make calls or to text. Thank God, because the last thing, it is bad enough right now, flying. My fear of flying is having somebody in back of me who has to tell his or her life story to the other person alongside of them. That's
your fear of flying, not crashing or anything?
Wow, I'd rather crash than listen to that. That's my fear of flying. And it happens all the time. And the first question is, you coming or going? Or, oh, you live here or just visiting? I mean, that starts, and that's the first question, and then it goes from there, and before you know it, oh my God.
You're not in it to make friends?
And imagine listening to that on somebody on the phone, right?
Oh.
And people with cell phones, they don't think that the person at the other, everybody on cell phone is like this. They don't think the person at the other end can hear them, so they have to shout. They don't talk; they shout. Anyhow, I'm telling you, that's the blessing in all of this. Still, they say it's because the cell phone, the signal is so strong that it would override the plane's communication signal.
Wow,
that's not it. The real reason is they know that people don't want to be driven crazy by having to listen to these inane, empty-headed, meaningless, pointless cell phone conversations that we all make, except me. I only use it when necessary. What do you think? This is good news. 866-55-PRESS.
Don't call us if you're on a plane, by the way.
Yeah, don't call us if you're on a plane. By the way, I don't know why you can't text, though.
I think you can. If you're using the Apple, they've got the iMessage. Which is sort of Wi-Fi based, I guess. So if you've got the Wi-Fi on the plane, you could probably still use that.
But at any rate, so electronic devices, yes. Cell phones, no. 866-55-PRESS. You fly a lot. Let's talk about it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem. Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, you got it. 26 minutes after the hour. Just getting started here on a Friday morning, but lots of juicy stuff to talk about. We mentioned the big changes in rules for electronic devices on airplanes. That's going to change. By the way, I forgot to mention that Delta Airlines announced right away, hey, our planes are ready. We're ready to go with this new technology. They've got to get certified by the FAA, but Delta insists that its entire fleet, not its regional connectors, but its entire fleet of their main aircraft are so equipped. And JetBlue is expected to be, which doesn't surprise me. They're
ahead of the game.
They're so far ahead of the game that you ought to see those changes on those airlines soon. No word from United or U.S. Air or any of the others. There's some news about Hillary Clinton. Double news this morning. First is there's a new book. Amy Parnes, who covers the White House for The Hill, good friend with Jonathan Allen, has written a book of Jonathan Allen from Politico. They've written a new book about Hillary, which doesn't come out until February, but a little bit of it leaked yesterday. It's going to be called State Secrets and the Rebirth of Hillary Clinton. And they report that President Obama, I wouldn't say begged, but he certainly asked, twice he asked Hillary Clinton to stay on as Secretary of State because he was worried about losing both Leon Panetta and Hillary Clinton at the same time. But Hillary said, no, 4 years is enough. I'm tired. I want to get out of here. Take this job and shove it. At the same time, there is news this morning from Mark Halperin's new book, the second version of Game Change, that some people in the Obama campaign actually considered in 2012 when they were gearing up, dumping Joe Biden and putting Hillary Clinton on the ticket. According to the book, they didn't consider it that seriously because they knew Joe was doing a good job.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour, still recovering from Trick or Treat last night here on The Bill Press Show. It's hard work.
I'm sure.
Greeting. I felt like the Walmart greeter if I was handing out candy.
What kind of candy were you giving out?
Just a whole mixed bag.
Okay.
Carol bought lots of stuff at Costco. I mean, there were little Snicker bars, little Milky Way bars.
There you go. There were
little M&M bags.
You did it right.
There were
then.
Candy Kisses.
We were going through the loot last night.
I was really bummed because at the end I told Carol, I said I was going to have a piece of candy. I didn't even get a candy kiss.
I didn't bring any in but I'm going to. We have a ton of leftover candy from because the kids won't eat all of it, and if they don't, I will. And this, by the way, is what a candy hangover looks like. We ate some candy last night.
No,
but Snickers,
I didn't get
the king of Halloween
I ended up
candy.
having a clementine. I love clementines, but I brought one in this morning, but it's not
a Snickers bar.
It's not as good as a Milky Way.
You did well. Snickers, Milky Way, M&Ms, good stuff. Well, I think we got some pretzels last night, which is BS. We got the obligatory religious pamphlet.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We get one every year. It's probably the same house, but we get one every year.
A religious pamphlet?
Yeah.
God, talk about throwing cold water.
Right
on Halloween.
You just dump all the candy out, and then there's this little pamphlet in the middle of it that tells you where to go to go and learn about Jesus on Sunday.
Yeah. No, I don't remember getting weird stuff like that. Certainly for us, it's just candy. You get candy. Yeah.
And anything homemade, sorry, goes right in the trash.
But I mean, now we don't give out religious pamphlets, but we always ask them if they believe in Jesus before we. before we give them the gift. Trick or treat. Do you believe in Jesus?
No? Okay, no candy for you.
Have you confessed your sins? All right. At any rate. Yeah, fortunately, it only comes around once a year. We can put up with it once a year. I was covering a whole lot of topics this morning. David Jackson from the White House, USA Today, joins us in our next segment. A little political ground to cover this morning because there's some interesting stories out. You remember 4 years ago, Mark Halperin and his co-author, John Heilemann, came out with a great book about the 2008 campaign, made a lot of news, called Game Change. And, this is like the great Teddy White books that started and he covered every 4 years, too, in the presidential campaign, starting in 1960 with John F. Kennedy. So Mark Halperin and John Heilmen, thank you. The book on the 2012 campaign is called Double Down, and copies of it are starting to circulate, and it's already making some news this morning, including, as I mentioned just before the break, the word that there were some people, apparently not President Obama himself, but some people in the Obama campaign who said, look, we got a tough run in 2012. We're going to need all the firepower we can get. Maybe we'd be better off if we put Hillary Clinton on the ticket and dumped Joe Biden. Didn't get very far, and they sort of decided, we're going to be okay in 2012. Biden's doing a good job, and Biden brings in a certain constituency, and we might have some problems with Hillary being a pretty independent person anyhow. So, to me, that's not a shocker. If you're running for re-election, they should have considered all alternatives.
Sure.
And George Bush should have dumped Dan Quayle for sure. It might have helped him way back. So,
I'm sure that Republicans will turn this into something.
Yeah, but I think they made the right. Look, they considered it. No shocker. The important point to me is he made the right decision. Joe Biden's one of the most effective and best vice presidents that we have ever had. By the way, one little other note: it was Bill Daley, brother of Mayor Daley, who was then President Obama's chief of staff, who reportedly, according to Double Down, is the one who was pushing that possible scenario. Another interesting, juicy tidbit, that's not the Hillary thing is not the only nugget to come out of Double Down. It's also reported that Mitt Romney, when he was looking at his vice presidential candidates, Chris Christie, of course, came to the front of the line, and he was the first one that Romney scratched off the list. And they say one of the reasons is because Romney had a real problem with the fact that Christie was so overweight, that he saw him coming down. They said it was a sight to see when Christie would take his jacket off and work his way down the aisle of the bus when he was campaigning with Romney.
Oh, wow.
And Romney said to one of his aides, "Look at that." Like it really offended him.
Well,
and for that reason alone, one of the reasons that he just said, no, I'm not going to consider him.
It is a fascinating visual when you see, like when the president went to New Jersey and he and Chris Christie were walking on the tarmac.
Yeah.
It is a striking visual to see Obama, who is tall and lean, and Christie, who is squatty and very, very wide. That would have been a very weird visual to see Romney and Christie side by side.
Plus, they said they're worried about some of the stuff in Christie's background, and anyhow, not seriously considered. Also reported that Rob Portman, the senator from Ohio, suggested that he be willing to take his name out of consideration because he had a son who was gay, and the Romney campaign told him, "Ridiculous! Don't be ridiculous. That we don't care about that. You're still under serious consideration."
That might be the one redeeming thing I've heard out of the Romney campaign.
Right. The other juicy little tidbit, again, look, this is just what's reported. I'm not verifying all of this, but Mark Halperin and John Heilman are damn good reporters. They report that President Obama could barely endure, that's their word, barely endure spending much time with Bill Clinton. And, of course, Clinton was out there campaigning for Obama and in many ways saved his ass, and which was particularly remarkable given the tension between the two camps in 2008. But while Bill Clinton did everything he could to help President Obama, and really did, he saved his ass on several occasions, that President Obama just couldn't stand spending much time with him. They are two different personalities, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One very outgoing and one quite reserved. The other juicy tidbit I love is that John remember Harry Reid one time really shook things up when he came out and said he had learned from a very good source that Mitt Romney had not paid any taxes in 10 years. He'd made all this money, gazillions of dollars, but had not paid any federal taxes. Turned out to be true. And then the taxes that he did pay, remember, it was like 14%, right? But anyhow, the source of that information was none other than John Huntsman Sr. John Huntsman's father is the one who tipped off Harry Reid in the Republican primaries. Then, so that's the book, Double Down. Can't wait to get a copy of it. Can't wait to get Mark Halperin. We had him here talking about Game Change 4 years ago. We'll get him back to talk about Double Down.
Some juicy stuff in there already that we're hearing about.
Yeah, lots of juicy stuff, and then some more juicy stuff on Hillary. The fact that President Obama urged her and even begged her to stay on as Secretary of State. That came out of a book by coming up in February by Amy Parnes and Jonathan Allen. So talking about John Huntsman's dad, Ted Cruz's father is also known for being rather outspoken. Huffington Post reporting yesterday. In fact, this first was I saw it first in Mother Jones. I have to give them credit. Mother Jones actually got a copy of a video that was taken back in September 2012. Ted Cruz's father, Rafael Cruz, told a Tea Party group in 2012, first of all, he's the one who called America a Christian nation. And he, going around as a preacher, he told a Tea Party group in 2012 he thinks President Barack Obama should go back to Kenya.
Oh, no.
He also compared President Obama to Fidel Castro. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. The apple didn't fall far from the tree in that case, did it? Right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You want to know how crazy Ted Cruz is? Look at his father, Rafael Cruz. And I guess maybe Ted is a subdued version of
Well,
Rafael
he still
Cruz.
brings his father out and
He
talks
still
with
brings
him. And
his
that,
father,
so.
I know he does, yeah. And his father is still out there, and his father is still shaking things up and giving speeches. And I think that's just the beginning of the trouble we're going to hear from Rafael Cruz. So what's going on down at the White House with the president today? Has he turned around this little flap over the healthcare website? David Jackson, doing a great job covering the White House for USA Today, joins us next on The Bill Press Show.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. 13 minutes before the top of the hour, Councilman, I started to say Congressman, Councilman Tommy Wells from the District of Columbia, candidate for mayor of the city of Washington, D.C., in studio with us in the next hour, as well as the editor-in-chief of Garden and Gun magazine, Peter Ogburn's favorite magazine. I never heard of it before, but anyhow, he's going to talk about a new book he's got called The Southerner's Handbook, all about shrimp and grits. I hope there's some shrimp and grits.
There better be.
I mean, else it's not a Southern cookbook. Nobody knows that better than David Jackson down at the White House, joining us here on our news line this morning. Covers the White House for USA Today. Hey, David.
Hey, Bill, you're making me hungry.
Oh, man, yeah. You've eaten a lot of shrimp and grits in your life, I'm sure.
Charleston way, yes.
Yeah.
David, a fellow South Carolinian.
I know.
Absolutely.
You know, it's one of my favorite meals, I got to tell you. And,
there's nothing wrong with it.
And shrimp and grits at Snob in Charleston.
Man.
It's the best I think I've ever had.
They make a fine one.
David, how's it going? You hungry yet?
Very much so. Gee, I was thinking about Iraq, and now I'm thinking about shrimp and grits.
Hey, so we've seen at the White House this week the president and the administration kind of wrestling with two big issues: the healthcare issue and the NSA flap. Right? I wonder if they're getting on top of both. Let's start with healthcare. Have they managed to turn this around yet, or at least quell the storm?
Only to a degree, I think. They're just kind of ooching through, hoping that the website works by the end of November. That's the first things first. They got to get the website working, and then they'll worry about the other things. As for the people canceling insurance, I mean, they're banking on the fact that it's a relatively small percentage of people who are having their insurance policies canceled because they're not up to the new regulations. And I mean, I think in sheer numbers, to look at it cynically in sheer numbers, I feel like that's not going to be that big of a problem down the line. But right now, all their worries now are just trying to resolve this website situation, because that's something I think everyone can relate to.
Yeah, I think wouldn't you agree, if they get the website working, everything else will work out, right?
Well, that's certainly what they're counting on. But then in mid-November, we're going to have the news about how many people have actually enrolled, and I suspect those numbers are going to be low. And I think, Bill, you got to remember, anything it's a big program, so things are obviously going to go wrong, and they're going to be magnified because Republicans are so opposed to this thing. And once you have Republicans opposing it, then that's going to get a lot of news coverage. So I think it's going to be a controversial issue right up until the end of the initial enrollment period in March, I suspect.
Yep. And on NSA, I tell you what's amazed me yesterday. I had my hand up, David. I wanted to ask.
I heard you back there.
I wanted to ask the question about the Pope. Nobody asked Jay Carney yesterday whether we were spying on the Pope. But the Angela Merkel thing, I don't know. I have to tell you, I think they were pretty clumsy the way they handled that. They still haven't admitted that we were spying on Angela Merkel. We all know we were, right?
Right. Yeah, they've had a very tough time because it's a classified information. I mean, technically, it's all classified, so they're not supposed to talk about any of it. I think they want to talk about some of it, but they're afraid about going too far. Someone told me the other day, Bill, I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, is that there's still an investigation going on about leaking classified information because of the Sanger book and some other news reports.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes people in the White House even more anxious to talk about these new revelations because they're afraid they might get ensnared in something, God knows what. So it's a very difficult story for them to talk about, and it's obvious it's a very hard story to report. And as for the Pope, I'm sure we've got somebody in just about every world capital because that's just the way it's done. And just like everyone has somebody here trying to find out what Obama's situation is up to.
Well, the question that I think it lies unresolved is who makes the decision to spy on a world leader, right?
Yeah, well, that's a tricky one, too, because I think you want to insulate the top guy to give him deniability. So I don't think anybody really knows. I think it's kind of a lot of winking and nodding going on.
Yeah, right. You want to insulate him so he has deniability. At the same time, do we really want somebody else making that decision, right?
Right.
So it seems to be like it's got to be the president. On the other hand, you don't want the president to be identified with that. I don't know. It's
one of the things. I think most people say that he'll have to do something, if only cosmetically, to try to address the situation. And one of the ideas floating around is to have the president sign off on these specific monitoring of foreign leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it's a good idea, but it's going to put a lot of pressure on both Obama and his successors because if somebody gets caught, if there's another Edward Snowden in the future, and the president is known to have signed off on spying over a colleague, then that's going to create a whole new set of problems. So it's a tricky deal.
Right. The president got some bad news yesterday in the Senate. Jay Carney talked to us about it. Peter, if we've got that clip with the senators unable to overcome a filibuster, Democrats unable to overcome a filibuster on the nomination of Mel Watt. Here's Carney yesterday.
We're just disappointed by him because we know he's qualified and we know that he would do a good job, and there's a heck of a lot of important work that needs to be done.
And now Rand Paul is threatening to hold up, or has threatened to hold up, the nomination of Janet Yellen as well. So there's still some problems with nominations on the Hill.
That's true. Well, I think it's a reflection of the enmity, I think, between the White House and congressional Republicans, and it's manifesting itself here. In terms of that housing situation, the Republicans have been after Fannie and Freddie for years, ever since the collapse, and they don't feel like Mel Watt is the right guy to do the kind of things they want. They also like the acting head. I can't remember his name right now, but the acting head of the FHA, I think the Republicans kind of like him and want to keep him, but the administration, a lot of Democrats don't. So it's a very discrete issue that's creating the problems there.
There's another issue, another report I read yesterday, and I was surprised this did not come up in the briefing. I was surprised the fact that the administration wasn't crowing about it. The Post reporting that the deficit in 2013 fell by 37%, which is pretty significant.
Well, that's true, but one of the reasons is because of the sequester, and that's something they don't like. So it's got the arrogance.
But it's also because there's some new revenue, right? Because they were able to get rid of those Bush tax cuts.
Correct. Yeah. So it's increased tax rates. It's the elimination of that temporary tax on Social Security and the sequester, and also the economic growth, which has improved a little bit. So they're leery about talking about it because then someone will say, "Well, let's just keep the sequester." But they do mention it. I mean, I think the president mentioned it yesterday. I know he mentioned it earlier this week, and the deficit's falling at a faster rate than it ever has. It's an interesting issue, too, because they kind of agree on this. The Republicans are also taking credit for the falling deficit numbers. So here's something where the parties are, in fact, working together.
Yeah, right, joining hands on this, indeed. All right, well, we're up at, 12 or 12:30 today, so I'll see you down at the ranch a little bit later.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, David. David Jackson, USA Today. USAtoday.com at the White House.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine. Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names.
It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, Councilman Tommy Wells from the District of Columbia in studio with us, and we'll talk to the editor of Garden and Gun magazine, Peter Ogburn.
Yes, indeed. Every day or every week, it seems like there's another story that pops up that makes the defenders of George Zimmerman look sillier and sillier. Yesterday, his estranged wife, Shelley, says that after she filed for divorce, he sent her a bullet-riddled target. He went to a Target and practiced with his gun and took that target with the bullet holes in it and mailed it to her. A not so thinly veiled message.
And what was that supposed to mean?
Well,
is this before he showed up with a gun and threatened her and her father?
This was before, yes.
Yeah. Nice guy, that George Zimmerman. And why isn't he in jail?
Is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's the 1st of November. Can you believe it? And here we are on the Bill Press Show this Friday morning in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill, right in the heart of the action, keeping our eye on what's going on here in Washington and what's going on around the country and around the globe, bringing you up to date and giving you a chance to talk about it all. Remember, you can watch us on Free Speech TV. You can also watch us on TawkrTV. That's our video stream. You go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. And, of course, you can listen to us on your local progressive talk radio station. And you can join the conversation any one of three ways, at least minimum three ways. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Yesterday, big celebration here in Washington. Cory Booker is sworn in as the new junior senator from the state of New Jersey. Pretty clear he's going to be a force in the U.S. Senate. The FAA out with new rules that you can use your laptop or your smartphone or your Kindle, your iPad or whatever from takeoff to touchdown now. You don't have to wait until they tell you it's okay to turn on your electronic device. Isn't that great? You'll be able to play Angry Birds from coast to coast without interruption. Big internet firms, Yahoo, Google, and all the rest, 6 of them have sent a letter to the U.S. Senate saying NSA is out of control, and there has to be some new legislation putting restrictions on NSA. NSA, meanwhile, denies that it ever tried to spy on the Pope. And Edward Snowden, who started it all, has a new job in Russia. All right, stay with us here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
stand up against our greatest threat. Did you commit to change the world?
On your TV and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Report this morning that some people in the Obama campaign in 2012 considered briefly dumping Joe Biden for Hillary Clinton. They made the right move. They stuck with Joe. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Friday, November 1. Great to see you this morning. It's the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on the news of the day in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe, and giving you a chance to tell us what it all means to you and to your family and your community. You know how to do so. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments, no matter how acid, on Twitter at BP Show. And on Facebook, you can join us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Of course, comments are always friendlier on Facebook because that's where friends go, right? We've got a good friend in studio with us this first half hour here of our second hour together. In the nation's capital, one of the leaders of the nation's capital, City Councilman Tommy Wells, who represents this area of Capitol Hill and would like to represent the entire city as the next mayor of Washington, D.C. Tommy, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you for coming in. You're hard at work at it, doing your city council job and a campaign job at the same time.
Absolutely. And as you know, in our area, it was a big night last night.
Capitol Hill has become sort of the headquarters for Halloween in Washington, D.C., right? Yeah, I mean, at the Easter Market, they shut down the street. They've got all the games there for kids. The restaurants there, all serving food. It's just great, really. And the horse
the hayride and all that is really you're right. And kids come in on buses. Families come from all over the city. It's really a fun way to celebrate Halloween.
Peter Ogburn,
head
of our team here, and Alicia Cruz, and Cyprian Bolding. I just want you to all hear what the city councilman said. Kids come in on buses.
Yeah.
I said that this morning.
Did.
I told them I was sure they were busing kids in because we had 130. You know where they go when they leave the Easter Market? They work the houses in the neighborhood. And since we're only a block away from the Easter Market, we had 130 kids at our door last night. So at least 130.
Man.
So now we know where they came from.
Well, also, as you know,
plus they're in the neighborhood.
We've got more kids. We've got the stroller brigades. You know, we've got more kids in this neighborhood than we've had in years.
Absolutely. No, I have. I always joke with friends who come that, to me, the greatest danger in Capitol Hill is being run over by a stroller.
Absolutely.
You know, there's so many young families on the Hill. It's really exciting.
It is exciting, and it's just the power of turning the elementary schools around. Mm-hmm. You know, almost every elementary school in our ward in this neighborhood, 10 of them, have waiting lists for kids to get in.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that has turned around in the last 10 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So we got a lot to get into with Tommy Wells. He is also proposing the decriminalization of marijuana for the nation's capital here. By the way, so Tommy, the mayor of Toronto, I don't know whether you've heard, is in a little hot water. A video surfaced up in Toronto that it appeared to be the mayor smoking crack. The police chief confirms identity here.
I think it's fair to say that the mayor does appear in that video, but I'm not going to get into the detail of what activity is depicted on that video.
So he's there, but he won't confirm exactly what he's doing. So reporters showed up at the mayor's house to try to get his comment on.
Guys, can you get off my driveway, please?
Sandra Lisi.
Sorry, get off my driveway, please.
What can you tell
Can you get off my driveway, please?
What can you tell the
Can you get
people
off my
of
property,
Toronto
please?
about your involvement?
Can you get off my driveway, please? Can you get off my driveway?
We get the point. He wants the reporters.
Get off my property.
Mayor.
Get off my property.
I'm leaving.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
So when you hear about a mayor smoking crack, does this sound familiar?
Well, we certainly did have a mayor digress at some point to the same personal failing. Yes, we did.
Yeah. When I heard that video or audio this morning, I thought, oh, my God, shades of Marion Barry.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know what's going to happen to the mayor of Toronto, but it doesn't sound like he's yet ready to deal with it. We'll find out. I'm sure you're going to hear more about that story. But we've got more important things to talk about here. Also, after Councilman is back at work this morning, the editor-in-chief of this magazine, Garden and Gun, which I must admit I had never heard about. It's the magazine of Southern Living, Peter Ogburn's favorite magazine.
It's this generation's Southern Living magazine. It's fantastic.
And he's got a new book out called The Southerner's Handbook, A Guide to Living the Good Life in the South. He's going to be joining us as well. And we'll get right to the news of the day. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple little stories making news out there. Just in time for Halloween, the name Salahi resurfaces. Bill, I know how much you enjoy stories about the Salahis. Well, in Virginia, we're in the middle of and nearing the end of a heated Virginia governor's race. One name that you haven't heard a lot of is Tarek Salahi. He was not able to get in on the ballot as an independent, so he is now urging Virginia voters to vote for him for governor as a write-in candidate. He's calling his campaign "Two Wrongs Make a Write-In."
Lots of luck with that.
If he doesn't make it, don't worry. He also plans to run for Congress during the next election cycle. And when you thought you got rid of them.
The man famous for crashing a White House dinner. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Of course, how do you spell Salahi?
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the problem. From the sports desk, this year's mediocre NFL season rambled on last night as the Miami Dolphins took on the Cincinnati Bengals in Miami. It was a bizarre game that went to overtime and ended when the Dolphins' Cameron Wake sacked Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton in his own end zone. That gave the Dolphins 2 points for the safety and ended the game. Here is how it sounded on WINZ out of Miami.
Dolphins secondary looks a bit confused. Here they come. And he's hit into the end zone. It's a sack. Safety. The Dolphins win the football game. It's a safety.
A very weird way to end the ball.
Never heard of a game ending that way.
No.
Cincinnati drops to 6-3 on the season. Miami levels off at 4-4.
And we won't talk about the Redskins.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to mention them. Best 2-5 team in the league, Bill. And Edward Snowden
big game coming up this weekend with the Chargers.
Edward Snowden gets a job. He's settling into his new life in Russia quite well, so well, in fact, that his attorney announced yesterday that he was going to begin writing for a major Russian website. They didn't specify which one it was going to be for, but you can imagine that his funds are running pretty low after being on the run for so long. He begins today. I'm sure we'll all be very excited to see what he has to say next.
I think they better lock the safe with Edward Snowden around, you know. I'm not sure you could get the security clearance. So, Tommy Wells, you're a couple of big issues that you've been talking about. One of them that interested me very much, the decriminalization of marijuana in Washington, D.C. Why? What's the situation?
Well, there's been a study done by the ACLU and another group, the Washington Lawyers Group, that shows that even though that use of marijuana is widespread, 90% of the arrests are young African Americans. And once you have a criminal charge, it's hard to get a job. It's hard to work on a construction job. It's hard to get a commercial driver's license. There's a number of things that you start being, kind of pushed out of economic society. And we know that criminalization of marijuana has not decreased the use of marijuana. So the city now is only 48% African American, but the arrests are over 90% African American. And, we've got 7 universities here, 7 colleges. Not to stereotype college kids.
Not that college kids smoke pot,
but I don't think the only people smoking pot at a clip of 90% is African Americans. So it's really an issue of social justice. And so the decriminalization, really turning it into a ticket, a fine for an ounce or less. And, we've seen California do this, Massachusetts, and of course the arrest rates go down. And there's not much impact on the usage of marijuana. So frankly, it's something that it's time.
58% of Americans today in the latest Gallup poll actually support legalization of marijuana, which is up 10 points in the last year alone, largely due, I think, to the impact of what Colorado and Washington State, the voters there, when they approved legalization last November. Why not go all the way?
Well, I think, first of all, this is the first step, and let's see how this works. And we also want to see how Colorado and Washington State, how they do it. They've got two very different regulatory schemes of how to regulate it. Let's let them go first, see how it works. And, in D.C., there should be a broader conversation, just like in Colorado and Washington State. It should go to a referendum. Let the voters talk about it, argue about it, and then vote on it instead of just pushing it through by the council. I think that's a better way to do it.
This is something that surprised me. Washington, D.C. today is only 48% African American. I thought it was higher. That's the population, not people who come here to work here and everything, right? You're talking about residents of the city.
Right. 48%. Between 48 and 49.
What was it? Has it been higher? Has it gone
absolutely.
down?
It's been much higher. But the city's changing. And it really, during the 90s, certainly when the city was in bad shape with crack and went broke and all that a lot of people, especially African Americans, moved out, moving to Prince George's County, middle class folks. But now that people are moving back in, people of higher means with, people that come from all across the country moving into D.C. And about every month, about 3,000 people move out, 4,000 people move in, and we're growing at one of the fastest clips in the nation.
And what kind of support are you getting on the city council for this decriminalization?
I have nine votes plus my own. So 10 of us want to do it.
10 out of 12, right?
10 out of 13.
10 out of 13.
That's right.
Okay, yeah.
So it's going to pass.
Yeah.
The question remains of really two interesting questions. One is, how high should the fine be? And the other is, should people be allowed to at least grow a plant or two in their home? And that's where, we're going to have to debate a little bit.
D.C. already has medical marijuana.
That's right. We have medical marijuana. We're a full year into having medical marijuana available, and so we've got growers in the city.
Yeah, and we have one of the dispensaries right across the street here, right? I think, Peter, isn't it over Popeye Chicken, I believe?
It's now over Popeye's Chicken.
We always thought that was very appropriate. They were going to be over Dunkin' Donuts, but instead they moved across the street because, munchies. Now, the other thing that we've talked about before, and you've been really leading the fight on, is the minimum wage here in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
What is it today, and what do you want to make it?
Well, in D.C., we're always $1 more than the federal amount, and so we're at $8.25.
$8.25. Yeah.
And in D.C., we have found, like the rest of the country, a huge disparity between people that make more and people that make less. And that's another area of economic, justice. And so it's almost artificially low. So I'm proposing the bill that I've gotten 9 others to co-introduce with me, that we go up to $10.25 in about a year and a half. But then we also increase the standard deduction for when you do your taxes, income taxes. You can increase the standard deduction so you can keep more take-home pay. And so raising how much money you get doesn't just come on the employer. It comes from all across the city by increasing standard deduction. That helps D.C. workers more. Then the other thing it does is it looks to cut the property taxes, commercial property taxes for small businesses. That's a separate schedule that they'll fill out because a lot of the small businesses have triple net leases that the property tax goes to them. Our commercial property tax is one of the highest in the region. So this will help small businesses pay a higher wage, and it's a comprehensive bill. There's 9 co-introducers, and I think that it's some version of this will pass.
Well, one of the big challenges here, of course, and we had this whole flap over getting Walmart to locate some stores in the district, whether it's Walmart or whether it's Macy's or part of the effort is to get these bigger stores, right, in the district, not out in the suburbs. Will they come here if they have to pay $10.25 as opposed to they can stay out in the suburbs and
absolutely?
They
raised the minimum wage in Washington State. They raised the minimum wage in San Francisco. I think what they didn't want is to have bills written just for them, that to encourage any jurisdiction to write a bill that essentially has Walmart almost in the name of the bill. And that bill in D.C. was more symbolic because it didn't impact any current Walmart store that opens for 4 years. And so they would have stopped coming in, and it's not just Walmart, you're right, it's Target, Macy's, any large box retailer. So this will affect all employers right away, the bill that I have to raise the minimum wage, and it's not a symbolic bill. It's a real bill that will help real people.
$10.25, the minimum wage. I think California just raised it to $10.25. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and it may, my colleagues may want to even push it higher. We're going to have to try to be smart about it. But it also is indexed to the Consumer Price Index. So once it's done, it's done.
Which is what they really should do at the federal level, rather than have this battle, every year, every 2 years or 5 years or whatever it is. Councilman Tommy Wells from the D.C., Washington, D.C. City Council here in studio with us. He is a candidate for mayor of Washington, D.C. That election is next year, Councilman?
It's April 1st is the primary.
April 1st, 2014?
A lot faster than people are used to. We moved the primary up to be part of kind of a regional Super Tuesday for the presidential.
Yeah.
And then it just never got changed back.
All right, there it is. Your questions, your comments, welcome at 866-55-PRESS on this Friday, November 1. We'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, the Southerner's Handbook coming up in our next segment here of The Bill Press Show this Friday morning. In studio with us, Washington, D.C. Councilman Tommy Wells, a candidate for a mayor. So, Mr. Councilman, I got to ask you this question, okay? I slipped earlier in the program. I want you to know, for the first time in probably 6 months, I've actually uttered the name of the Washington football team. I have been one of those reporters or talk show hosts who have said, I'm not going to even mention the name, let it cross my lips. But I did. You know the flap. What do you think Dan Snyder should do? Should they change the name?
Absolutely. And, you know, there's a civic relationship to your teams, like your football team, and you represent a city. It's not just a private enterprise. And I think that to represent D.C. and use a name that, you know, is pejorative like that does not we're not that we should be held to a higher standard as the nation's capital, but certainly it is international news, the degree to which we allow a slur to be used to describe the football team, the nation's capital football team. So I think it's embarrassing. And the more that it's, you know, once you ring the bell, everybody thinks about it and says, you know what, it's just like the president said, it's not right.
We just have about 30 seconds, but 3 of your fellow councilmen have been indicted. What about this whole ethics problem?
There's unquestionably a crisis of ethics in Washington, D.C. We've seen it happen in other states like Illinois, but in D.C. there's been a crisis of ethics. The chair of the council and 2 other council members for separate acts committed felonies, and one's in prison, one's awaiting sentencing for being bribed, and then 3 other council members have been admonished by the ethics board for really pay to play, you know, getting money and then using that influence. And now the current mayor is under investigation by the FBI and the U.S.
just
Attorney.
Jump in and say we need somebody to clean it up. Tommy Wells, go
absolutely.
For it. All right,
thank you, Bill.
Is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour on a Friday, November 1. Can you believe it? It is the Bill Press Show, and we are coming to you live from Washington, D.C., your nation's capital. Brought to you today by the National Education Association, the good men and women of the NEA, great teachers of America, creating great public schools for every student. You bet. Under President Dennis Van Rokel. And for more information, check out their website at NEA.org. Well, you know, Washington, D.C., President John F. Kennedy once said, is a city with northern charm and southern efficiency. Just turning it around. But we are a southern city, sort of the beginning of the South.
It's easy to forget, yeah.
Easy to forget, right? Which is why we were very interested in a new book that's out called The Southerner's Handbook, a guide to living the good life in the South, published by the editors of Garden and Gun magazine, whose editor-in-chief, Dave DiBenedetto, joins us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Dave, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, good to have you with us this morning. I have you to know, Peter Ogburn, our executive producer here, Garden and Gun is his favorite magazine.
It's true.
Right? So he's been a long-time subscriber. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But I got to ask you, I'm curious about the Garden and Gun. I mean, doesn't that sort of particularly the gun end of it, let's see, just continue a stereotype of people in the South?
You know, you could call it a bit of an irreverent name. It certainly harkens back to when magazines were, had titles like, or when they were titled Vanity Fair. Would that name get through today with all the focus groups and things like that? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But Garden and Gun to us represents the dual lifestyle, the male-female readership. It's a connection to the land and the sporting culture, which is certainly such a big part of the Southern lifestyle.
I'm interested. Talk to me about the Southern lifestyle. I mean, I come from Delaware originally, and then California. But is there still a distinct Southern lifestyle?
I think that there is. I think that Southerners very much have a connection to the land, and a lot of this springs from it. We're talking about a crazy natural bounty that Southerners have learned how to address. Mm-hmm. Whether we're talking about harvest time, or whether we're talking about going to get oysters, or whether you're catching shrimp out of your John boat. I mean, food is at the center of it, and then there's always this desire to have a good time. Southerners aren't afraid to have fun, and so we'll celebrate the harvest, and we'll like to celebrate the harvest and have a good time and look fashionable doing it. But really, it's about traditions. It's about appreciating the traditions that have come before us, passing down family recipes. And really learning the skills that help us, appreciate this place better.
Well, I have enjoyed a taste of that and time spent in the South. Charleston, one of my favorite places, where Peter Ogburn comes from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just spent a couple of days last week in New Orleans, which a city I love, and particularly because of the food and the people, right?
Yeah, love New Orleans, for sure.
But can we agree on this? Can we agree that Florida is not part of the South?
For the purposes of Garden and Gun, it is, but it may not be as strongly represented as some of the others.
Florida is just Florida. Florida is Florida the way Texas is Texas.
That's true. I mean, that's true. I mean, we cover Texas, but we certainly, we know Texas is Texas.
All right. Now, so I was looking at the Southern's Handbook, and you've got it broken down into food, style, drink, sport and adventure, home and garden, arts and culture. When I think of food, Southern food, tell me if I'm wrong. Well, I think of two things, I guess. I think of oysters and I think of grits. And shrimp, I guess. You got to have the shrimp there, too.
I would say that those two are at the hierarchy. Yeah, shrimp and grits. Put those two together, which is, we had a couple of years ago, we did one of these NCAA type bracket polls about the best food in the South, and shrimp and grits beat barbecue, much to most people's chagrin.
Whoa, really?
By the way, we should mention Asheville, too, is another
one of our
hot
fine
spot,
stations.
One of our fine stations at 880 The Revolution.
Oh, Asheville. We love Asheville. Asheville's a great town. But, yeah, I mean, Southern food it's really at the heart of this magazine. The magazine's about almost 7 years old, and I've been here 6. And when we got here, we knew food would be important to the readership. We had no idea how important. It's just central to who we are, and like I said, it's back to that understanding the land and all this farm-to-table stuff that's been going on it's almost passé now, the trend. I mean, that's been happening in the South for, 200 years out of necessity. We just appreciate fresh ingredients and knowing where our food comes from.
Yeah, I don't know whether you know Julia Reed in New Orleans.
I know her well and just spent 2 days with her in New York.
Oh, no, is that right? Yeah, a great chef, great writer, and she embodies, what you're talking about. Right.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And we were 2 weeks ago. I was with Julia at the Greenville, Mississippi Hot Tamale Festival, where Julia grew up in Greenville and is kind of spearheading this hot tamale festival to bring some attention to her town. And it was just amazing. And again, there is this unbelievable history and passion for tamales. And everyone has their secret recipe. Everyone has their family recipe. And it was an amazing event with, a lot of people celebrating this tradition.
In the new book, The Southerner's Handbook, is it more about sort of telling Southerners what they have around them, or is it sort of a how-to guide for if you're not from the South, here's how we do things?
It's more of a how-to guide, and I would say no Southerner would know all of this that's in it. I certainly didn't come close to knowing all of the material that's in it. There's everything from how to fold a pocket square to how to make sweet tea to how to take a tick off your neck
and how to shuck oysters. We saw that.
How to shuck oysters too. And then it's also, we reached out to some of our best writers. You mentioned Julia Reed. She has a nice essay, so not as much how-to, but just a nice literary essay on how to throw a great party. And Jack Hitt writes about how to cook a whole hog, and Roy Blunt tells some hilarious stories in the book. So it's a mix of really useful how-to, fun information, and then what Garden and Gun is known for, a little bit of just a nice literary read.
Dave DiBenedetto, our guest here by phone. He's the editor-in-chief of Garden and Gun magazine, gardenandgun.com. You mentioned, when you mentioned Julia and Roy Blunt, the other thing that's so important about the South is the literature from the South, right? It's huge.
Absolutely. It certainly is, and it's in the DNA of what Garden and Gun is this expectation of this fine writing, and we have this unbelievable history, and so much of it springs from the fact that Southerners love to tell stories. We like to tell good stories, and we're storytellers. Whether or not you could say that Southern writing is great because there's a lot of it is about crazy Southern, dysfunctional Southerners. It was funny. Pat Conroy was in the office last week, and we asked him a similar question, and he said, Southern writing is simply human writing. And he said, we're no different than anyone else. We just tell our stories.
Well, that's nice of Pat to say. I'd have to say they tell their stories, but they tell them a hell of a lot better than a lot of other people do.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Where are you based, Dave?
We're in Charleston, South Carolina. So you could not be in a better place to run this magazine. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, but had been in New York for 12 years working in magazines, and never thought I'd end up in Charleston. But when the opportunity arose to come to a magazine like Garden and Gun, I jumped at it, and it's just been a delight ever since.
I mentioned earlier in the show that the best shrimp and grits I think I've ever had is at Snob in Charleston. So,
yes, well, that's one of the great restaurants down here. Hominy Grill is another one that does amazing shrimp and grits, and of course Sean Brock over at Husk, his shrimp and grits are unreal. You could go on a shrimp and grits tour down here and go back weighing 10 more pounds than you started.
That's a good idea, actually. Next time I'm down there,
I accept.
Because shrimp and grits are acceptable for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So
they're the perfect hangover food. The perfect food. It just works all the time, and we certainly have plenty of hangovers down.
All right. So the new book is out. It is The Southerner's Handbook, a guide to living the good life by the editors of Garden and Gun. And again, you can follow them at gardenandgun.com. And we'll put a link up on our website to the book and to the magazine.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, Peter?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Dave, watch out because we love Charleston. And so you're likely to see us there one of these days pretty soon.
Well, come on down. We'd love to have you.
I have to tell you, another spot. I keep thinking of these spots that Asheville with 12 Bones. Peter and I head right to 12 Bones when we go to Asheville. But we were in Charlotte, North Carolina.
For the convention. Yeah.
And there's some great spots there in Charlotte. Roosters. Remember Roosters?
Yeah, Charlotte has their food scene is really starting to take off. And it's kind of this global South idea, with influences from all over, with the Southern twist on it. Charlotte's great.
I'm telling you, we're just going to have to eat our way through the South. All right.
I can do that.
Dave DiBenedetto.
You could do worse.
Yeah, right, man.
Fun being with you this morning. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Right. There it is. Never thought I'd be pushing Garden and Gun magazine.
It's good stuff, man.
Garden parts.
It's a good way of life.
Garden part.
Yeah.
I love the garden part. All right. We'll be right back here on the Bill Press Show Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the Racing dog, I want you to dismiss the theory.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Okay, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. It is not all politics, it's not all healthcare, and it's not all NSA. Other news this morning from the FAA. For all of you who fly frequently or maybe just fly once or twice a year, big rules changes regarding the use of electronic devices. The FAA announcing yesterday. Remember, the way it is now, you can only use your laptop or whatever when you get to 10,000 feet. And then once you get below 10,000 feet, you have to turn them off. Well, now, as long as planes are equipped to handle this, and some of them aren't yet, you'll be able to use your electronic device, your Kindle, your smartphone, iPad, or whatever, from the moment you get on the plane. You're sitting at the gate. You're taxiing out, you're taking off, you're flying, the plane is descending, you're taxiing again, you're landing, whatever. You can use those devices, but still, thank God, no cell phones.
Yeah, I think that's a good move.
Yeah. I don't listen to those dumbass conversations that somebody's having 9 rows in back of me and they feel that everybody on the plane has to hear what they have to say. Have you ever heard,
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Have you ever heard Have you ever overheard one cell phone conversation that was that sounded like it was important or necessary.
I will say,
never.
I will say,
never.
I will say, the guy that was on the Amtrak train with Michael Hayden, who Michael Hayden was on the cell phone, giving interviews on background and not to be named. That might have been worth it.
Well, but that was just the proof of why you should not use your cell phone
exactly
on a freaking train or plane if you want to make a secret phone call.
You get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and you don't shout it out so that people can hear you 3 rows away. Hey, by the way, I mentioned it's a Friday. Yes, indeed, Friday. Here we go. November 1, and what we do on a Friday is we look back at our favorite sound bites of the week and bring you the top 5. We start at the bottom, work our way up to the top. President Obama up in Boston the other day while he was out of town. The First Lady welcomed a few friends to the White House from Sesame Street. She was getting ready to harvest the garden, the fall harvest for the garden. And so she asked Elmo what he thinks about fruits and veggies.
Number 5.
How do you guys feel about getting kids pumped up and excited about eating healthy foods?
Well, it's wonderful. Emma loves healthy foods. Yeah, Emma thinks that fruits and vegetables are delicious.
Fruits and vegetables are delicious.
That actually made me hurt to hear that the day after Halloween. Like, I still have a candy hangover.
You still have a candy hangover.
And I can't even listen to that.
Well, I'll tell you what it made me hurt. I said this the other day when we first played it, is I hate that new Elmo voice.
Agreed.
I hate it. I hate it. That's a squeaky little voice. No. Elmo's got to be Elmo.
I'm an Elmo truther. That's not the real Elmo.
No, I want the real Elmo back. I don't care. I don't never want to hear that new little creep sing the Elmo song. All right. There. So President Obama, by the way, a little flap this week because they say that some people, are losing their health care plan. And reportedly, that's not what the president promised 3 or 4 years ago. Let's go back in the time machine and get the truth.
Number 4.
So let me be clear. If you like your doctor or health care provider, you can keep them. If you like your health care plan, you can keep that too.
First, no matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or health care plan, you can keep it. If you don't have insurance, you'll finally be able to afford it.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor.
Yeah, it sounds like that is what he said, and it wasn't quite exact. He should have said 99% of you will be able to keep it. On the Hill, Keith Alexander, head of the NSA, was asked, well, what about this spying on world leaders? Should we really be doing that?
Number 3.
It is much more important for this country that we defend this nation and take the beatings than it is to give up a program that would result in this nation being attacked.
Oh, yes, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. They always hide behind that, don't they? And Kathleen Sebelius testifying in front of Congress a couple of days ago, she was asked, and she finally got exasperated when she was asked over and over again, shouldn't the president, isn't this his responsibility?
Number 2.
It is the president's ultimate responsibility, correct?
You clearly, whatever. Yes, he is the president. He is responsible for government programs.
Whatever. David Ortiz leads the Red Sox to the World Series championship, and it's all about Boston.
Number 1.
This is our bleep city.
Big Papi, this is our bleep city. Indeed.
At least he cleaned it up. He did it the first time.
This time he cleaned it up.
Tried it, yeah.
And we'll come back and tell you what's up with the White House today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you know? Hour number 3 coming up soon here. We're going to lose you on Free Speech TV, unfortunately. But we made it easy for you to continue to watch the program on TawkrTV. You know how to get there. YouTube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. Eric Burns From Bullfight Strategies, we'll be here as a friend of Bill for the entire next hour, and we'll be joined by Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed. So lots of fun and laughs coming up in hour number 3. Stay around.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. Or a book report to give. I wish I was in school. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll do extra homework. I'll skip recess. I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school. I really wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help. Together, we're feeding America.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, lots of fun coming up in the next hour with Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies here as a friend of Bill, and then we'll be joined by Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed. She's usually based in New York City, happens to be in Washington, D.C., and we snagged her into coming in this morning in the studio with us. Looking at the president's schedule today, he and the vice president will get the daily briefing together at 10:30 this morning. And then this afternoon, the two of them will be holding a very important meeting in the Oval Office with Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki from Iraq. I think it's interesting that they're going to be holding this meeting. Reporters will be called in to take a few photographs, but there is no joint news conference by the president and the prime minister. Usually there is when a foreign leader, particularly somebody as important as the prime minister of Iraq, comes to the White House. None today. Instead, Jay Carney will be holding his daily briefing at 12:30 at the White House. So we finish off this Friday. One more hour coming up with Eric Burns and Ruby Cramer and you. So stay around.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
With a candy hangover the morning after trick and treat, here we are on The Bill Press Show. I'm just tired from handing out candy. 130 plus kids at our door last night here on Capitol Hill. And if you were not one of them, we thank you for not coming by because we ran out of candy anyhow. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you. It is Friday, November 1. This is the Bill Press Show, and we are coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Inviting your comments on the news of the day. Our job is to tell you what's going on. Your job is to tell us what you think about it, what it all means to you. You know how to do it. 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Give us a call or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Facebook is where all of our friends line up. If you haven't already friended us on Facebook, why not? And speaking of friends and good friends, here we go. Eric Burns is here from Bullfight Strategies, here as a friend to Bill this entire hour. Eric?
Hey, Bill.
Welcome back.
Thank you, my man. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
You.
Absolutely.
Well, you know the spot well, and we know you well.
Yeah. So I got to ask you really quick. 130 folks.
Can you believe
Did you have a clicker that you were
You laugh.
counting?
You make a joke.
I am making a joke, but I believe that he may have.
No. Carol.
No, she did.
Carol has a clicker. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Very
and
nice.
In fact, when I would go to the door, we were sort of like taking turns.
Yeah.
And then she would say, and I.
You would jump out and scare them, and then she would click, and then.
No, but then she would say, "Did you click? Did you click them?" Yeah, because she wanted to keep
Good for
the
Carol.
count.
Good for Carol.
I'd say it was 130 plus.
Was that a record? Over.
Yes. Yeah, a record.
Very nice. Very nice.
And
we had zero trick or treaters, which made me really feel. I was excited and I really wanted to do it, and we got no one. And then I realized we were supposed to put like a little ribbon on our door because we live in a building right now, my wife and I, and we forgot to do that.
Like in an apartment building?
Yeah, we had to.
Kids can't get into.
Well, but there's a bunch of them in the building. And you're supposed to tie like a little ribbon around your door, which I forgot to do. So,
but you had candy ready.
Oh yeah, I had candy, so we just ate it all. I threw up 2 or 3 times, and now I'm here.
What happened to the leftover candy? That's the question.
Let me ask you this: what kind of candy did you get?
It's like, look,
Peter's been asking
Kit Kats,
everybody this.
Twix bars.
All right, you did it right. You did it right.
That's good.
I like the
you
good
can tell
stuff.
a lot about a person by what kind of Halloween candy they give out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you can't do pixie sticks, which I used to love as a kid.
No pixie sticks.
Did you hand out any religious pamphlets?
I usually do. I carry those around with me.
We got one last night. We got one.
We handed out pagan pamphlets just to kind of. But then there was no one there to offer any too, so we just kind of spend the night reading them. So.
Right. Good to have you with us, with our team here. Peter Ogburn, of course, Alicia Cruz has the phones covered, and Cyprian Bolding has us looking good on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV if you want to watch the video stream, in addition to listening on your local progressive talk radio station. Eric, in the news biz here, it's a dangerous profession, being a reporter. As a local reporter here from Channel 9 discovered yesterday, he and his cameraman heard that there was some disturbance at a house. Police were called. They showed up, and the woman who lived there was not happy to see this team there. She actually ended up punching the reporter and the cameraman. They recorded the whole thing. Here she is.
Good for them.
I asked you to leave, and I'm not gonna say it again. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bah. Bah. Bah.
I don't care. Goodbye. I'ma tase your neck. I'm telling you bye.
She's gonna tase him.
She's gonna tase him. Don't tase me, bro.
You I will knock this
No.
camera.
Boom. There's the first punch.
Oh my God.
You can't. Don't
That's my kind of woman.
Don't touch me.
Please, don't.
Touch me.
I got that. I've got her.
And there she goes.
Oh my God.
I'm a knock
Punch it away.
you. Goodbye.
I got it. We're gone.
Anyhow, that video showed last night on all the local news stations, and the reporter is okay, and the cameraman.
Good.
And they're not going to press charges, but that was all in the line of duty, I guess. But good.
Well,
She was hopped up on something.
People don't realize. I spent many years working in local politics and government in Houston, and so I dealt with a lot of kind of like local affiliate reporters that go out and chase all different kinds of stories, and it's a tough job, and because you don't know what you're walking into half the time, and they can be pushy, and people love to hate journalists and whatnot, but.
Put it this way: people are not.
This kind of stuff happens.
People are not always happy to see you.
Yes, and just for anyone out there, it's not good media relations to punch a reporter on camera. Okay, just don't do it.
You can't win that battle.
Yeah,
no,
not going to look good.
Eric Burns here the entire hour as a friend of Bill. We'll be joined by Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed at the half, and we'll get right into some big stories of the day, Eric. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Here are just a couple of other stories making news. Breaking news, by the way. Crack continues to be whack. It has long been rumored that Toronto Mayor Rob Ford had been caught on video smoking crack cocaine, and yesterday, Toronto police confirmed that they have seen the tape of Ford, and it is fairly clear that he is, in fact, smoking crack. Ford gave no comment, but when reporters showed up at his house for comment, he was not happy.
Guys, can you get off my driveway, please?
Sandra Lisi.
Sorry, get off my driveway, please?
Can you tell
Can you get off my driveway, please?
What can you tell the
Can you get off my property, please?
about your involvement?
It sounds like the last video.
I know it does.
But at least he was on crack, so he has an excuse.
My property, please. Don't get off my property.
Bye.
Get off my property. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Get off my property. Thank you.
That would have been better. Just bye.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you would think somebody who's elected mayor.
Yeah,
would
just
have
it's like, look, they're just
a little better press relations.
Don't
right?
sleep with the interns.
Yeah.
Don't smoke crack. Okay. I mean, there's just really not that many rules you have to follow to. It's not that hard. It's like we just got to create a top 10 list and send it out to these guys. I don't know.
Bullfight strategies. That's your.
I'm going to do that.
Let's stick with the drug theme while we're talking about drugs. Okay. A man in Bismarck, North Dakota, is in trouble after police responded to a call for assault at his residence. When the cops arrived, they found drug paraphernalia and $40,000 in cash lying around his house. But don't get it twisted. The man, Christopher Lepke, says nothing bad was going on. It's not drug money. That $40,000 was money that he had saved from mowing lawns.
When he was 8 years old.
He's a grown man saying that he made 40 gur mowing lawns. Police, shockingly, did not buy that story, and the man has been arrested.
I think this is a travesty of justice. I mean, he could have been mowing the Koch brothers' lawns. I mean, how much would they pay?
Could have been.
Oh my God, that's a really bad excuse.
Or he could have been on coke.
He may have been high.
He'd been on coke mowing the lawns.
Yeah, there you
if
go.
he had been on coke, he would have had a better excuse. I think he was probably smoking a little too much grass.
He can mow those lawns pretty quickly, though. And Google Glass strikes again. Is it safe to wear Google Glass and drive? Police in Temecula, California certainly do not think so. A woman was pulled over for speeding, and the officer noticed that she was wearing a pair of the Google Glass, and that he wrote her a ticket, citing, quote, driving with monitor visible to driver. This is usually reserved for offenses for people when they have their smartphones and they're looking at that monitor, or a laptop, or I guess if you could fit a computer.
Surfing the web.
However, then that's against the law, and you can get a ticket for it. The officer actually wrote on the ticket using Google Glass while driving.
I said earlier that I couldn't believe, I still can't believe, a woman in Temecula, California. Temecula, California is in the middle of nowhere, but it's still, I just checked, It's got a population of 100,000. Bigger than when I saw it.
Are you like, you can't believe that she has a Google Glass?
Yeah. I mean, getting Google Glasses.
It's very difficult.
You can't buy them. They're not for sale.
There's a guy in our office that has one, and so I put it on and played with it, and I couldn't walk around the office with it on.
Let alone drive a car.
Yeah, it's like the Matrix. I mean, it's very confusing. It's still beta. I mean, I think it's really going to be cool one day.
This guy get it.
You have to ask for it, and then you have to demonstrate like this is what I'm going to do with it, and because they want it. It's like almost like open source software development. They want people that are going to go improve the experience.
He wants it. Look at him.
So I'm going to try to get one. So I'll work on it for us, Bill, and then I'll wear one. I'll wear it on the air here.
No, I want it.
I'll let you wear it on the air.
Screw you, Eric. He wants it.
But then what's going to happen is Bill's going to be surfing the internet. We're not going to know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That could end very poorly.
And then he's going to get a ticket. So.
All right, we got it. Peter, thank you for all those exciting news stories. One, incredibly, I find unbelievable note, and that not a lot of people are talking about, not a happy note, is that today, because of some writing the sequester that runs out today, everybody, and Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post has been here and talked about this a couple of times, everybody on food stamps today, 47 million Americans, are going to see their food stamp budget allotment cut. Mm-hmm. Ross Frazier, Eric, is with a group called Feeding America, and he just lays out like what this means.
With this reduction, the average family will now have only about $1.40 to spend on each meal.
Oh, my God.
$1.40 to spend on each meal. And who are these people who are on food stamps? Again, Ross Frazier.
The reality is more than 80% of the benefits paid out in the SNAP program go to children, senior citizens, or someone who's disabled.
I mean, so...
Single mothers, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't this just... as a priority for this to happen in this country, and Republicans think they're serving the public?
It's morally criminal. Okay, I mean, and we are the most powerful, most wealthy, and most advanced country in the history of the world. And I will hear a lot of my Republican friends, I don't want my tax dollars going to this and that. Well, but I'll tell you what. There's other studies that show that people that are on things like food stamps, they put that money back into the economy because they spend it, and they spend it in ways that help stimulate the economy. So aside from just being an immoral thing to do, it's actually not good for the economy.
Just all the way around. I mean, these people are on food stamps, and food stamps is one of these programs. Sort of, somebody have said, like a perfect government program. When times are tough, more people are on food stamps. When times get a little bit better, then they go off.
Of course.
They're not on food stamps like forever and ever and ever. If they're there, it's because they need it.
Yes.
$1.40.
You can't even get you can't barely get a burger at McDonald's.
Right. Exactly. And I forget what percentage of it. I think it's at least 20-25% people on food stamps are children.
Yes.
And then seniors. So you got the extremes are the people who really need the help. And these are the people that we are cutting.
Mm-hmm. And Republicans in Congress would. I mean, this is the sequester, which folks agreed to, but this is something that our friend Ted Cruz and other folks in the Senate and the House, I would suspect with high confidence, be more than happy to eliminate food stamps. It's literally taking the food out of the mouths of children. It's immoral.
Right.
It's morally bankrupt, and people need to know that.
No, the Senate passed a bill that
Who are we as a nation?
The Senate, good question. The Senate passed a bill that would cut the food stamp program. For House Republicans, it didn't cut it enough. House Republicans put up a bill that cut them by $20 billion. That wasn't enough. The Tea Party demanded that they cut it by $40 billion. So now there's no.
Well, and the thought is the private sector can do it. The private sector can do it better because we all know that Lockheed Martin is going to start feeding the poor.
Now, how did you know? I wanted to ask you next. You mentioned Ted Cruz. All right, I keep coming back to the fact that
I know
you're from Texas.
I am from Texas.
You were a Republican in Texas.
Was,
and you worked for Rick Perry in Texas.
Yep, and
did you ever encounter Ted Cruz? And
I have never met Ted Cruz, and it's interesting because he's from Houston. He grew up just a couple neighborhoods away from me. He's only 2 years older than I am. And
I was going to say, you all have a lot in common.
Well, actually, yeah, that scares me when you say that, Peter Rockburn.
I mean, do people in Texas like him? Do they appreciate what he's doing? Is he popular back home?
I believe he is. I've been asking this question quite a bit of my friends that are in Texas, and I can only tell you that Texas, the political dynamic in Texas has changed very dramatically over the last 5 years or so. I have friends who were actually fairly liberal, and folks in the city who are now taking their 10-year-old kids out to automatic weapons ranges, and these aren't like folks. This is like people living in the city. It's just really it's just strange, and it's a lot of the same rhetoric that we hear from the Eric Ericksons and these really irresponsible folks. I'm hearing from very reasonable people, and it's kind of a cultural thing when there's only one side of the having a conversation, and that side of the conversation is screaming gloom and doom. They're coming to get us. People are busy in their lives, and so they don't have time to pay attention to this stuff like we do, and they hear it and they believe it. And Ted Cruz is one of these politicians he's going to blow himself up at some point. I guarantee it. But he loves the attention. He loves the power he has right now. He's not concerned about is he being responsible?
No, and he has eclipsed everybody else into Rick
He's a nightmare. He's a nightmare.
He's eclipsed Rick Perry and Rand Paul and Marco Rubio in terms of the Tea Party.
They've created a monster.
Baby. I mean, he's the guy. Eric Burns here from Bullfight Strategies on the Bill Press Show. We'll be right back here. Join the conversation anytime. Your comments on Ted Cruz, 866-55-PRESS. Should we? Bill Maher said last night, we should be worried about Ted Cruz, that people are dismissing him too readily. Let's talk about it.
This is the Bill Press Show. on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, here in studio with Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies. Love the name of that firm.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed, a hot new website covering everything across the board, including politics. Ruby Cramer will be joining us, Eric,
Buzzfeed's
in just a few minutes here. The political buzz of the morning, I must admit, is word from Mark Halperin and John Heilman's new book called Double Down, that in the gearing up for the 2012 campaign, members of the Obama campaign team actually considered dumping Joe Biden for Hillary Clinton. And obviously decided not to. Did they make the right decision?
You know what? I think in hindsight, Joe Biden has turned out to be an incredibly effective vice president, and probably, I think, the most effective member of that administration. He's the one that anytime there's a success, I feel like Joe Biden is in the mix.
He's the go-to guy.
He's the go-to guy.
Anytime President Obama's got to get something done on guns or budget or whatever, he said, Biden, fix it.
What I think it demonstrates is, back in 2008, I think the Obama folks were kind of they were scared of Clinton, and that I think would have been obviously a lot of people in the party. You remember they wanted that ticket. But, I think that after enough battles, they reconsidered, and I'm not surprised that they did. But I think it's turned out well for Hillary, and I think it's turned out well for Biden.
And turned out well for Obama. Yeah. No, I think they made absolutely the right decision. I agree with you. I think Joe Biden's been the most effective vice president.
He's probably the most powerful vice president in American history, more so than Dick Cheney.
Absolutely.
And he's cool.
Oh, God, don't remind us of Cheney.
This
Ruby Cramer joins
is the
us next.
Bill Press Show.
Ladies, are any of these...
is the Bill Press Show.
Indeed, it is 33 minutes after the hour now here on a Friday morning, November 1. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America. The good men and women of the Laborers Union under President Terry O'Sullivan, building a better America, and that is their website, liuna.org, liuna.org, L-I-U-N-A. Eric Burns here as a friend of Bill for this entire hour, and we are now joined by a good friend. We usually talked on the phone because she's based in New York, but we happened to hear from Amtrak that she was on her way to Washington. So we snagged her to come in studio this morning. Ruby Cramer reports for Buzzfeed.
Hi,
Ruby. Nice to see you.
It's a thrill to be in studio.
Oh, bigger thrill to see you.
Thanks.
Yeah. How about, and we love Buzzfeed. You guys do really good work.
Buzzfeed is a friend of Bill Press, I think.
Oh,
well,
you know,
right?
Evan McMorris Santoro at the White House does.
DC Bureau is a little more rough than the New York Bureau, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know that, Peter.
Yeah,
you don't know that.
Peter's just talking
Kate
smack.
Nocera and John Stanton, who was in a few days ago as a friend of Bill.
Okay,
and
so
then Ben
everyone.
Smith has been in too. Yeah, your boss, big
Little
boss.
known fact, Ruby actually invented the throat punch that John now uses.
Oh my God.
Look, actually, I think BuzzFeed has actually done a lot to really kind of transform, the media landscape in the way that I haven't seen done since Politico launched in DC. I mean, I think BuzzFeed you guys have done a really, really great job of being influential.
Well, thanks.
And putting out some great stories.
BuzzFeed.com. And you're in town. You came down with Senator now, Cory Booker, right?
Yes, it
You
was
you were covering their campaign.
Yes, it was very odd to call him senator yesterday.
I'll bet, yeah. But he's going to be a player, it looks like. Do you think?
Yeah, he arrived yesterday in the Senate with a media storm following him. I mean, he had reporters chasing him around. He had Harry Reid shepherding him around the Senate on his first day. He had Bob Menendez shepherding him around. He's just attracting attention already, and he's clearly going to be a star in a way that I think Democrats don't really have a star in the Senate right now. I mean, you look at the Republican side, you've got these kind of darlings and or firebrands like Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Mike Lee, and
Rand Paul.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them. Yeah. There are a lot of them. Democrats don't really have that as much. I mean, you have big power players, but even the high ticket names like Elizabeth Warren, she's very much in the background.
Mm-hmm. By choice.
By choice, completely. Yeah. And Booker, I think, will be a more nuanced blend of someone
and so
like
is Al Franken by choice. And,
exactly.
And part of the rap with Cory Booker is that by being so far out there, he kind of gets himself in trouble, especially on Twitter.
Yes.
As we know.
Oh, dear.
He needs a little discipline in the Twitter area, don't you think?
He's become so much more disciplined. I know this sounds weird. If you followed him for longer than this past campaign, when he had to kind of do this really quick campaign when Senator Lautenberg died, and they had this 4-month sprint Senate campaign. Before that, he was even more undisciplined. He was tweeting whatever he wanted. His tweets got him into trouble. He was, if you remember when he was a surrogate on the Obama campaign,
yes.
He went on Meet the Press and said, these attacks about Mitt Romney's record at Big Capital are ridiculous. We shouldn't be, punishing his success, basically. That was not a good move for a surrogate, but he was speaking his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's become a lot more disciplined. He used to never turn down an interview, whether it was a high school paper, whether it was BuzzFeed, whether it was The Times, whether it was literally anything in between, any TV station. He's now much more selective about his press strategy. He's focusing on local press a lot more. Mm-hmm. So I've seen him become a lot more disciplined. I think that's because he has a really professional staff around him now, which is new.
Yesterday,
and Ruby, he's not taking any advice from Anthony Weiner, obviously, on how to effectively use Twitter. I think clearly he's not, but good for the senator. I think.
I don't know why.
Successful.
I don't know why he's not following that model.
But he's tweeting with this prostitute from Seattle.
There was that. But if you look at the tweets,
she was a stripper. To be fair, she was a stripper, not a prostitute.
Well,
what?
She was a stripper, not a prostitute.
I'm sorry, a stripper.
And she was a stripper at a vegan strip club.
Look, guys, look, it was a vegan strip club.
I'm
okay?
serious.
So
I don't know what a vegan strip club is.
But that's where she worked. There's no meat, no cheese, no cow products.
There's a big contradiction between
It seemed like the G-rated version of Anthony Weiner. It was like he was not like tweeting pictures back and forth. He was saying, she was saying, like, I'm such a fan, basically. And he was like, I'm a fan of yours.
But here's Cory Booker's first big challenge here in Washington, D.C., is finding a place to live. I don't know whether it was you or some reporter asked him about that yesterday, and here is his response. He's not too far along in that department.
I don't know where I live. I put a really bad pitch into the vice president if I could just crash in a spare room that he had, but until I can find a place. But I'm not sure. Right now I'm proud, though, that I live now and will continue to live in Newark, New Jersey.
All right, Newark, New Jersey. Yeah, but he'll have to find a place there.
Yeah, what is, I don't know where I live. Like, where is he right now? That's my question.
Yeah.
Like,
do you guys think that he's going to end up in the bachelor pad with Chuck Schumer and Harry Reid? Because I hope he doesn't.
Harry Reid does not. I know where Harry Reid lives. He does not live in the bachelor pad. But
I thought he. Is it Durban? It's Durban and Schumer. I'm sorry. Excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
not going to mention
Leader.
where Harry Reid lives, but I know where he lives. It's not the bachelor pad. But anyhow, I just hope he ends up on Capitol Hill, because Capitol Hill is where a lot of members live. Is where I live. It's a great place, and you can walk to work. Meanwhile, up in New York, I've got to ask you: is there still a mayor's race going on, or is it all over?
Well, you would think that there would be a mayor's race going on because the election is on November 5th, but there isn't much of a race left. Bill de Blasio, seriously, who would have thought 4 months ago, 3 months ago even?
Yeah.
Maybe not 3 months ago, but no, seriously, 3 months ago even, it looked like a different race. He's now still leading in the polls by something like, I think, like 40 points, 30-point margins.
We used to have Bill de Blasio on the show because he was the only candidate who would do our show because all the rest were so famous and
Right.
you know they didn't and we had a
So
Bill de
were you
Blasio
having
on.
him back on like early this year?
He's in next week, actually. He's going to be on the phone, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
No, so you know we feel like we sort of made Bill
Well,
de Blasio
clearly,
the candidate.
it's the
I think
Bill
you
Press
actually did, Bill.
Why is it that he is so far ahead?
Well, to be fair, we have to find out what the margin of error is, because if it's a 3%,
It's a 47% margin of error.
See, that's the
They
the
sampled
issue.
3 people.
Yeah.
45, 50 points ahead.
That's incredible.
I don't think anyone thought that he would win the primary when he first started. And I don't think anyone thought he would win the primary without a runoff. He cleared 40%.
Yeah.
Didn't have a runoff in the Democratic primary, despite it being like very crowded, very competitive. You have big people like Christine Quinn, who everyone thought would be in his position right now.
Behind her. Absolutely.
You had Anthony Weiner, who came and, for what it's worth, sucked up the air in the room for a good 2 months and was leading in the polls. And you had Bill Thompson, who was a really credible candidate, who won the nomination 4 years ago. So
and
now
almost beat Bloomberg.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
How did
think
he do
people
it?
are like scratching. I actually.
But,
I'm not sure.
and let me add one other thing to that. He is genuinely, I believe, the most progressive candidate we've seen.
He is.
Almost at any level. I mean, he says we're going to raise your taxes, and you know we're going to do something about the schools and do something about income inequality.
Yeah.
He talks about issues that liberals who are running for office usually run away from.
And to his credit, he was saying this stuff from the very beginning. I mean, if you look at his campaign stump speeches, his talking points, the things that he was releasing back in 2012 when the race really started, he was saying the same exact things as he's saying right now. And you look at when the primary ended, he didn't really move to the middle in the way that you would expect him to. I mean, he gave a speech to a business association, I remember, that was like, I'm friendly to business. It was kind of like the first time we saw him trying to appeal to the center a little bit. But he's been casting himself as the progressive candidate the entire time.
Ruby, do you think? I feel like Washington politics is so different than than municipal and city politics. I worked in city politics for years, in Houston, and actually ran a mayor's race. And it's a completely different energy, and it feels much more like the democracy that we all think of democracy being. And I don't know, in your coverage of that, do you find that to kind of be true or not?
I mean, it's definitely a different atmosphere than down here. I was like in the Senate yesterday for one of the first times, and I was like, what is this strange place? I don't understand how this works.
I don't think the senators understand sometimes.
I don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, New York City politics is fun. I mean, it's like totally 100% on the ground.
Yeah.
It's all about like getting out the vote and field and having the candidates be at every subway stop every day. Like, they have to be tireless. That's another thing. That's another thing Bill de Blasio did. He was busy from dawn to like 10 p.m. like subway stops, forums, like he never stopped. And covering the campaign is fun because they're there, they're accessible, they're talking to voters. I mean, that's how they run their campaigns.
But the other thing it shows, Eric, which you touched on, is that the Democratic Party, particularly going to mayors and to governors and promoting them and grooming them and getting good candidates. And some of the most outstanding leaders in upcoming, particularly Democrat. Look at Martin O'Malley, right?
Yeah, Martin O'Malley. Remember him?
Right.
But really, these are just a couple. I think that there's the more the Democratic Party needs to do, because we spend a lot of time focusing on governors trying to compete with the Republicans, when really we have increasingly an urbanizing population. Governors are actually mayors are solving real problems that affect people's lives every day.
Mayors and governors both, and they have that executive experience. So
we need to be doing more to help those mayors.
All right, here we go. Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed and Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies here. Our conversation about news of the day, particularly the politics of the day. You are welcome to join in. We'll find a room for you somewhere here at the table. Squeeze you in if you give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 12 minutes before the top of the hour, winding up a Friday edition of the Bill Press Show from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. with two good friends in studio. Ruby Cramer, reporter based in New York for Buzzfeed, buzzfeed.com, and Eric Burns here based in Washington, D.C. with his own media consulting firm, Bullfight Strategies, bullfightstrategies.com.
Yes,
all
sir.
one word. We should mention, as Peter reminded us, that this is a big weekend. If you haven't, and I'm glad he reminded me because I didn't even know, this is the weekend that we change the clocks and we go off daylight savings time. So fall back. That means we gain an hour. Set the clocks back an
Saturday
hour.
night, right?
Saturday night.
That's right.
Right.
So
Great.
we get an
So
extra
you
hour on
can stay
Sunday.
up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's really only 1 o'clock in the morning.
And are you going to do a 4-hour show on Monday instead of a
Damn
3-hour
right.
show
We
to
always
celebrate?
do. We always do.
Good luck with that.
Every year.
You let me know how that works out for you, brother. I'm not.
Very important, though. And you heard it here first on the You know, it's like
exclusive. It's an
Exclusive.
Daylight saving time.
It's funny,
It's raining in Washington, D.C.
I haven't heard anybody else talk about
No,
that.
I haven't either.
Did you know it before just now?
Absolutely not.
Did you?
No, usually.
Did you?
This is what my editor Ben Smith calls a scoop.
I'm a
This is
producer.
scoop.
I produce.
This is
Ben,
new.
Ben could turn this into a scoop. He's that good.
Ben could
I'm gonna
turn
be,
anything
I
into
have
a
to be honest. I have to give the alley oop to Cyprian on that one. He reminded
I
me
think
because
we're-
I didn't know.
I think I've decided now that we're going to have a party, a daylight, a fallback party at Casa Burns. So anybody's welcome to come. But Bill Press, you got to be there, my friend.
You know, Eric, I don't know if I'd throw out an invitation to your house on radio and TV.
I need some friends.
Just give out
I
your
need some
address,
friends,
too.
Peter.
Where are we going? What's the address?
It's 1111
231 Fake Street.
Schmedicky Street.
Ruby, we were talking about the mayor's race in New York. How much of de Blasio's ascent is a referendum on Michael Bloomberg?
Well,
And not a positive referendum.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I don't want to speak for voters. There is polling on this, but I mean, it must be because Bill de Blasio has been talking the entire time about Bloomberg's record and how we need to move away from it. His entire, if you listen to his campaign, you hear one phrase over and over and over again, and that is tale of two cities. He has said that under Bloomberg, we have two cities, one for the rich, one for the poor, and that is not okay. And he has tied Bloomberg to this. He's been talking about Bloomberg constantly. So voters are, probably about to elect him with a really big margin, maybe a historic one. So yeah, I'd say this is a referendum on Bloomberg.
The numbers that I've seen on the number of people living in that huge city in poverty, I mean, it's frightening.
Right.
The
thing about Bill de Blasio, though, is he says he wants to raise taxes on the rich, and he's been saying this, and he wants to do it so that he says that the income that the city will create through that he'll use for a universal pre-K program. So does he want to will that fix income inequality? Does he want to raise taxes on the rich, or does he want the universal pre-K program? You know what I mean? I don't think we quite know yet how those two things will actually affect income inequality in the city. You know what I mean? You can't just raise taxes on the rich and expect the gap to go away. And I don't see how this pre-K program will exactly.
What I look forward to, because obviously Bloomberg has made no bones about it. He hates de Blasio. He hates him because he's really attacked his record and undermined his
And de
record.
Blasio secretly wants 64-ounce drinks avalittle at the.
Right. Obviously, that's what this campaign is about.
That's what it's about. So at some point, Michael Bloomberg is going to have to. Short Michael Bloomberg is going to have to look up at the towering Bill de Blasio and say, congratulations.
I can't wait for that visual.
I can't wait for that visual and
it's
that
gonna
moment.
Be good. Yeah, it's going to be, the tall thing is fun.
And then de Blasio will put Michael Bloomberg in his breast pocket and walk off the stage.
But yeah, I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see if he's successful because New York politics is incredibly complex and it's incredibly difficult being mayor of that city. And some folks, Lee Brown did not fare well.
Right.
And other folks have the staying power.
The other thing is Cuomo, the governor of New York, is up for re-election in 2014. He is not going to want to approve a tax increase during his election year. He said that he doesn't want to raise taxes. So, again, will de Blasio be able to deliver on all of these things? We'll see. There's a lot of question about whether he can be effective.
I'm glad you raised that name because I was going to ask you, What does Andrew Cuomo must feel that like it's his time, 2016,
Yeah.
and yet here is Hillary who will not let go, and the
Right.
Clintons who've held on, since '92. And this might be a time for a new generation of Democrats, like a Martin O'Malley or an Andrew Cuomo.
Or a Cory Booker.
Or a Cory Booker.
Perhaps.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, this whole new crop.
Yeah.
And yet, there's Hillary.
Yeah.
And so there must be a lot of tension there, right?
How old is Andrew Cuomo?
I think he's in his late 40s or early 50s.
So he's got time. He's got time.
Barack Obama didn't feel that way.
Well, and I would submit I love the president, but I think that he's paid a price for that as well. I mean, I'm not saying, and I think you're absolutely right, Bill. There are a lot of folks that there's that we need to be.
And she's
lifting
freezing
up.
the field. So if she doesn't run, I mean, I think Democrats are not in a good position because we're laughing right now at people like Martin O'Malley who are trying to dip their toe in the water. But we shouldn't laugh at him because if Hillary decides not to run for whatever reason, he's going to be the person. They need to foster a bench no matter what, or else they're done.
Yeah.
They really are.
Right. But I like Hillary's experience. I do. I have to say.
All right, Eric Burns, thanks for coming in, man. Always good to have you here.
Thank you, my
Welcome
friend.
anytime. Ruby Cramer, next time you're in D.C., you know where you're coming, okay? Thanks for coming in, and we'll talk to you in New York if not. I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, just time enough for one last word about the new rules of the FAA. You heard us say that from now on you're going to be able to use your electronic device all the way for the entire flight, even during takeoff and during landings. But the good news is the FAA will still not allow cell phones to be used on planes, which I love, because the last thing I want to do is to spend 5 hours cooped up in a plane listening to some idiot in the next row having a typical inane conversation. But with the new rules, we'll be able to play Angry Birds for folks from coast to coast. Have a great weekend. See you back here
Bill
Monday
Press
morning.
Show.